Welcome to part 5 of our live training session here with our S13 drift car. Now, in the last video, we started the calibration process for full throttle. We've learned how to dial our fuel and spark timing in, but we were at the wastegate actuator level, the spring level. That was about 12 or 13 pounds. We're going to now learn how to turn on our closed loop boost control and integrate it with our BTI gauge that has a virtual trim pot so that we can have multiple different boost targets that's driver selectable and learn how to calibrate the entire process, working with our PID control and working with our different stages of our closed loop. So we have our stage 1, 2, and 3. There's a lot to cover and learn in this training module, so let's get started so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our S13 drift car using a Link G4x plug-in system. Now, in the last video, we did our full throttle tuning, but we did it off the wastegate actuator level. We were creeping from about 170 kPa, which is about 11 pounds of boost, up to about 200 kPa, which is about 15 pounds of boost. So it's running off the base or the lowest spring pressure we can run, or the lowest boost pressure we can run here. We want to go and always run it on that low pressure so we can dial in our fuel and spark timing to start our calibration process off in full throttle conditions. Now, we're going to take a look at using the boost control to turn up the boost here and dial in our fuel and spark timing as we start to go a little bit higher in our boost. We're not going to run much more than about 20 pounds of boost, which is going to be the equivalent of roughly about 230 kPa, 220 kPa or so. So we're going to be increasing it up, and we're going to see where we ultimately end up at. Now, just kind of recap what we have going on here. The knock sensor was not working. We had sporadic results in the last video trying to make the knock control work. So we're going to be doing this without the knock sensor. Also, the throttle position sensor is going out on the car. It's starting to have some problems, and that's causing the TPS to kind of act as erratic operation during a full throttle pull, which is turning off the closed loop. So we're running an open loop when we're in full throttle, unfortunately. So the two things that I wanted to include in this video, of course, don't work, and I don't have a throttle position sensor laying around for an SR20. I checked, and I can't really do anything about making it work right. There's no way to get around an improperly functioning throttle position sensor. So we have a bad TPS sensor. We can finish off the calibration. We're going to change it before this car starts to drift, but for right now, to go through the calibration process, we're going to have to just go with what we have here and finish it off. And again, the knock control, I don't have a Bosch flat response knock sensor here to change this out. I was anticipating that the factory knock sensor would work just fine. When we were running the Power FC system, it seemed to be okay, at least on the Power FC. So I don't know if this is something with our G4X here that's not working 100%, or if it's something with the car. We are getting a signal in, but it isn't functioning exactly how we'd expect, and we can't utilize it in the calibration process or using it for protection failsafe because we can't rely on it. It's not consistent enough. So what we're going to do here is turn our attention into boost control. So we know wastegate actuator level, fuel and spark time are good. We're going to turn up our boost now, and we're going to be using our closed loop tuning method for boost control. I'm going to show you how to go and start to work with this. So there's some things we need to go through and get familiar with real quick. Now, what we're probably not going to be able to do in this video because they don't have it set up yet. This car has a BTI CAN bus gauge. So the gauge is a nice little LCD display or a TFT display that's touchscreen that allows me to go in and see all kinds of data from our Link without having a laptop hooked up. It's on the CAN network right from the board, has a CAN output out. So that's hooked up, but I don't have it configured in the cam stream, which is probably what we'll leave to the next video, our last video here, taking a look at our cold start and some other features and functions within our Link to set this up. We are going to use the digital trim pot feature within our BTI gauge here to use as a selection for our boost target in our boost control. But for right now, we can just build out the boost control routine, and then we're gonna have to do that later because I haven't, again, set up the gauge and the CAN stream and got that all working, so it's not gonna do its thing and function properly. So I wanna make sure that that is going to work before I integrate into the boost control, but we can still take a look at the boost control process. And again, once we figure out all of the details, so the target boost levels and the base wastegate duty cycles, which is our feed forward table, once we figure that out, going in and requesting a new target is as simple as programming a target or using and setting up our gauge here to request a different target, or changing our boost control strategy if we were doing it based on a trim pot switch here, a virtual trim pot switch from our BTI gauge, or if we want to go to a speed-based boost or gear-based boost or time-based boost. It's a matter of just switching around the strategy, but the target and the hard part, the wastegate duty cycle, is what the base values, that's what's going to get us to the boost that we're requesting. That's what we need to figure out in the dyno right now. That's the hardest part for the boost control. The rest of it you can do off a chassis dyno, it doesn't matter. Essentially, we just need to fill in the blanks here and taking a look at setting up our PID closed loop control. Let's look at that right now. So we're gonna move from our window here under fuel, and we're gonna skip across here into our window called CLBST, or closed loop boost. Now we have a lot going on in here. We're gonna kind of try to keep this as simple as possible. We're gonna go here to our boost setup, go into our boost mode, and we're gonna go here and set it into closed loop. Now we're gonna be starting this process off in closed loop, but we're gonna be doing a simplified closed loop. We're gonna turn off all of our P, I, and D adjustments and just focus in on requesting a boost target and then building out our base table here, our wastegate duty cycle table 1. That's gonna allow us to fill out what the target to boost level is going to be at, and then again, we can change whatever we want for the control routine. I'll talk about that, and we might be able to set some of this up in just anticipation of using this BTI gauge for that trim pot, or the virtual trim pot selection for boost. Again, we'll kind of get into all that. Let's go here to closed loop and set this. Let's go to OK here, and we're gonna say yes. It's gonna give us a whole bunch of notices. We're gonna click yes and OK to kind of start to populate some things. Now the boost source is gonna be our map pressure sensor. We have some options here. We can do general pressure or map sensor. This GP pressure is... Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.